Folks, hello, good afternoon, and a very happy new year. I hope everyone is well. I hope you have all had a good break and are starting into 21 with gusto and energy and vigor and intent. Great to see you and speak to you again. This is Rob Magee. For those of you who we haven't come across before, I'm the CEO at Ingenio. We have a couple of businesses very focused in and around the tech and software space. The first is a recruitment business, a recruiter called Ingenio, and we work with clients predominantly in the software, SaaS, and tech space right across Europe. And the second business is a company called Ingenio Learning, and Ingenio Learning is an e-learning platform built to help people like you get hired. And we talk very specifically about getting hired in the tech and software industry. But look, these skills are transferable and relate to indeed most industries. We've lots of people on the call today, tuned in on Zoom, and if you're listening to this on podcast after the event. So look, we'll get going. I want to start the new year off talking about a topic that has huge importance. Over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be talking about a single topic, and that is researching with intent and intelligence. And the objective here, is almost before you get involved in the job application phase or the heavy application process. What I want to get you doing is really thinking about the research that you're doing. And we're going to talk today about who your target company is. Why is this important? Well, it's so unbelievably important because it's so evident to us. Let's say, for example, as a recruiter, when someone is adopting a spray and pray approach to their applications. So really, and that's evident in terms of, I guess, the language that's used maybe in your application, in terms of your engagement and follow-up, what's in your CV or resume. So that's really, really important, okay? So let's get into the detail today. I am more than happy, if you're on Zoom, I'm more than happy to take a live question from you. So you'll see the Q&A chat box there. Drop something into me and I'm happy to go and take it. Why is knowing your target company important? Well, look, as I said already, to us as recruiters, and let's say, for example, even to me as a hiring manager, if someone doesn't know a lot about my organization and what we do and how we're structured and everything to do with that, it is unbelievably apparent and visible very, very quickly. And that can be in something like a conversation. It can be in an outreach. It can even be in a blind CV application that you might do through one of the job boards like Indeed or LinkedIn, okay? And look, I'm going to focus in on 5 areas here today over the next kind of 10 or 12 minutes. And what I want you to do is I want this to be habitual. This needs to be literally, you need to be doing this level of research on every single organization that you are intending on applying to. And really what you'll start to do is you'll start to get a whole heap of insight and information around the types of organizations that you really want to work for, okay? So a couple of things here, a couple of headers. What do they do, okay? What do they do as an organization? I think, look, tech companies are very diverse, and I'm going to use tech and software companies because, look, that's our area of expertise. Tech companies are very diverse in terms of what they do and in terms of what they manufacture or they create or they sell or whatever the case may be. But there really, really only 3 types of organizations that kind of exist in this ecosystem, okay? And basically that is a tech company. Do they sell a product? Do they sell a service, or do they sell both? Okay, so are they selling or have they created or developed a product, a service, or both? Okay, and that's really interesting, because that gives you the starting point around which to do your research from. The next kind of subheader there is that there are organizations then from I guess from a product perspective, they can be divided into organizations that sell software or hardware, or indeed both. Okay, so that's really important. And I talk a lot in our course on Ingenio Learning. I talk about there's a kind of a test that we do, which is called the granny test, right? So imagine you're pitching to your grandmother, and what I'm trying to get you to go and do is actually explain in your own words, not what these guys have on their website, but in your own words, explain what it is that they go and do, and bring into play what I've just mentioned in terms of, I guess, product, service, or both, whether it's hardware, software, or indeed both. Okay. So what do they do? That's really, really important. What do they sell? Okay. And indeed, how do they sell it? That is very, very important. So again, really what I want to try and kind of get you thinking about is really trying to dig into what it is that this organization does. How do they exist from a revenue perspective? How do they make money? Okay, and that is really important. Really, really important that you understand that and that you have an appreciation for that. The next one is, who do they sell to? So look, I think this is a really interesting one. Tech companies can be very niche, very, very niche, and indeed industry niche, or they can be very, very broad and wide. But they can be carved up in terms of, I guess, the industries or the verticals that they go and serve. Loads and loads and loads of tech companies have nailed they've nailed a niche, in that they've become real experts, or they have developed a product, or a service that nails a particular issue or problem in a particular industry or vertical. And over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen an explosion in I guess, in the adjectives that exist out there that describe tech and software companies. There's a very well-known acronym, or sorry, adjective, I should say, to describe organizations that sell marketing technology. So the likes of your HubSpots, your Salesforces, your Marketos, your Typeforms. So they're called MarTech. So that is technology for the marketing industry. We're seeing EdTech is huge right now, particularly given all of the challenges around COVID. Things like PropTech, so technology for the property industry to kind of disrupt and all that. So it's really, really important that I want to try and get you thinking about. The types of organizations that your target company works with or delivers to. And that's really important, because maybe you don't have experience in tech or software, but perhaps you've got real experience in marketing or property or education that you can bring to bear. And that's why that's so important. Okay. The other thing I will say to you there, in terms of, who do they sell to, and I guess what market do they sell to? The other thing that I will say to you there is, it's really important that you, again, when you're doing your research, that you have a think about, is this organization selling to businesses, B2B, or are they selling to customers like you and I as individuals, B2C? So are they a B2B business, or are they B2C business? Or indeed, like a number of the monsters, the tech monsters, are they selling to both? And look, Amazon, Zoom, and Google would be really good examples of organizations that sell both to consumers like you and I, and also indeed to businesses of all sizes. Good example of B2B would be probably the best known B2B software company would be Salesforce, right? So they sell a software-based CRM platform to businesses. Okay, they don't sell to you and I. A good example of a B2C business, look, we all use them, but Netflix is a great example, right? So they're effectively selling content packaged up as TV movie content to individuals like you and I on a subscription basis. Okay, so that's a little bit around who do they sell to, what market do they sell to. And look, the last thing, and this is just so interesting, I had an amazing conversation with a startup organization yesterday that we're helping to hire for. What size are they? Is it a one-man band? Is it early stage? Is it startup? Is it scale up? Is it an established business? Have they been around for 30 or 40 years? Do they employ 10 people? Do they employ 100 people? Have they got 10,000 people? Do they have offices in one country or city? Do they have offices or right across the globe? And that's really, really important, again, because your experience and your appetite and your intent and everything else like that, it'll be very evident as to whether or not you really want to go and work for a startup business who are infinitely different from, let's say, for example, some of those organizations that I've mentioned by name already, a Google, a Zoom, an Amazon, a Netflix, a Salesforce. Entirely different beasts, and they look for different people. And people are better suited to maybe having or working with one or other type of organization. So that is why it's important, right? In a few minutes, we have 5 criteria. We've got 5 criteria that hopefully to you really emphasize that knowing who your target organization is going, or your target company is going to be, is really, really important. Let me give you an example of that. And again, I'm going to use an example of that industry that I've mentioned earlier on. So look, a MarTech organization typically sells to businesses. Okay, so they have developed a piece of software like HubSpot that basically allows organizations to get to know their clients incredibly well from a sales and marketing perspective. And HubSpot's technology is built and scaled and constructed to small, medium, and large enterprise organizations. Clearly, they're selling software. They definitely don't sell hardware, and in some cases they do sell services. But their real intent and real, focus as a business is to go and sell software, because that's what makes them incredibly valuable to the stock market and to investors and to their shareholders and everything else like that. It provides recurring revenue, which basically is a method of income that is very predictable over a medium to long-term basis. Okay, who do they sell to? Well, look, in HubSpot's organization, they break their clearly they sell to businesses, so that's the first thing. They're not a B2C orientated organization, and what they do is they build up their dev, their engineering, their product, their marketing, and their sales teams to be focused on slightly different market segments. So they split the globe into countries, firstly, and that's really important. They then split the types of organizations that they sell to into large, medium, and small, because they have slightly different ways of buying or different ways of consuming technologies, or maybe indeed different requirements. And so on and so forth. So you can see that there's a huge amount of segmentation that basically that goes on in their organization, and that means that depending on whether you're maybe working in the Spanish SME space, which is selling to Spanish organizations of a particular size, you can see that people can start to fit themselves into various different parts of the organization. And that's not just from a sales or marketing perspective. That could be from a product perspective. It could indeed be an engineering perspective. It could be a customer services perspective. It could be finance. So regardless of what you do listening in here today, When you start to break the target organization down, you'll start to see that you can become really specific and really valuable depending on your background and your skill set and indeed where you're from, what language you speak, what your interests are, and so on and so forth. And lastly, look, what size are they? So HubSpot are clearly, they're a beast of an organization. They're global in footprint. I don't know exactly how many thousand people they employ right now, but you can see that, you know, if, let's say, for example, if it was really important to you as an individual to want to work maybe directly with a CEO like me, then HubSpot's not the right place for you, right? But maybe, you know, Ingenio, who employ less than 10 people, where you're going to have direct access into the CEO on a regular basis, then maybe that is really, really important. And when you start to deconstruct all of these criteria, you'll start to see very quickly that you can write your CV in a very intended, deliberate way. You can do outreach to a hiring manager in a very intent and intelligent and deliberate way, and you can start to reach out to people who maybe have the same skill set or role or title that you want to go and do from a research perspective, or indeed who might be able to help you in a similar kind of way. Okay, so I hope that puts some context in terms of, you know, why this is important. I want you to have a little think about this, right? My assumption is that if you're listening today, or you're on the webinar, that clearly you're active and you're interested in the job market at the moment. And I guess, look, the three questions I want to ask there is, just think back to the last job application that you made. Maybe it was literally 15 minutes ago. Maybe it was earlier on today. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was last week. Maybe it was pre-Christmas. But I want you to think about this, okay? Did you match your CV to the market of the organization that you applied to? Did you match your CV? Did you really think about that, okay? Did you match your CV to the clients that they want to work with and sell to, or serve, or develop product or software or engineering, or provide legal advice, or work as part of a finance function, or do analysis from a BA, MA, you know, side of things, okay? So that's really important. And lastly, you know, are they the right size of organization for you? Are you well suited to them, and are they well suited to you? And that's really, really important. So I want you to think about that in terms of your last job application. And if you didn't do it, you'll see that, you know, you'll see that by just doing that on its own, right? So making those couple of tweaks, you'll see that your CV and resume, regardless of who it is that's reading it, whether it's a recruiter like us, whether it's an in-house recruiter, whether it's a hiring manager, whether indeed it's a piece of software, and I do a great session about you know, who's reading your CV, you know, is a robot reading your CV? And if you don't have that stuff covered, like, you're way behind your competition in the application queue. So really, really tune into that. So just from a visual perspective, before we finish off, 5 things to research. And look, obviously, you know, if you're on the call today, you know, you'll see this from a visual perspective. We'll be sending you the recording afterwards. But just to remind you, what do they do? Okay, so the 5 things that you need to research. What does the target company do? What do they sell? Who do they sell to? What market do they sell to? And what size are they? Really, really, really important. So, guys, I just in terms of wrapping up, and we're going to be literally 60 seconds. I'm going to run a really quick poll here that I would love you to, that I would love to get your view on, just so that we can learn a little bit more about you and tailor some of these content sessions to you a little bit better. The first question, really quickly: how long have you been looking for a job? We're really keen to understand that, so that we can start to build content around, I guess, timing, maybe resetting the clock. If you're active and you're fresh, then, you know, look, I think that's really important. So look, the first one, and again, really appreciate you just giving some content on that one. How long have you been looking for a job? And typically, have you been researching these 5 areas before applying for a job? Okay. Just as I'm waiting for some of those results to come in, I'm happy to take a question now live. If you want to drop that into the Q&A, absolutely happy to do that. And you're more than welcome to use this community that you're in to your benefit, right? So questions, please, happy to take them. The next session that we're going to do live next Wednesday, the 20th at 2 p.m. That's GMT. Who does your job today? So we've now figured out what organization today. We've figured out what organization you want to go and work for. We want to now figure out who's doing the job that you do in that organization today, and how can we get to them? How can we extract some benefit, some help, that type of stuff, okay? As I've said to you guys at the beginning, our course is available for purchase. So that's at ingenio-learning.com. We've got a 24-hour trial price. We've got a discount or promo code for anyone who's on this webinar or is listening in on podcast. The promo code is Ingenio10. That's INGENIO 10. And I'm happy to take an email from anyone at any time. And just before I finish, what I wanted to do really quickly, just in terms of our Ingenio course, there is a lot of collateral, there is a lot of content, and there's a huge amount of tools that are on there that can help you. I'm showing my screen right now, but basically what you've got is you've got a lot of stuff around obviously what the curriculum, the full curriculum is, based across 4 key sections. You can watch the first class for free, so again, tune in there. We've got some stuff there around people who have taken the course and have benefited from it. And look, the last thing that I wanted to kind of point you to is all of these sessions, these 15-20-minute sessions that we've done over the last 3 or 4 months are all here in our website, and you can access them for free. That is the Try Now section for our free career coaching webinars. And there are some amazing sessions that you might find very, very useful right now that you can access free of charge. So I don't have any questions, guys, but look, I've really enjoyed chatting to you this afternoon. I hope that has been very useful. Any questions at all in any way that we can go and help, and we're delighted to reach out. Look after yourselves, stay safe, as people say, and as we always say, keep the faith. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day. See you.